All right, good morning, and thank you all for being here on this special and historic day for UCLA. I'm Nick Cope. I do the pre-half and post-game shows on the UCLA football broadcast, also co-host of the Bruin Insider Show, and call a bunch of sports on campus here. And it is an honor to get to be here today and help usher in this new era of Bruin football. And I join in all of you in being incredibly excited about the future of this program. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, please double check your cell phones, make sure everyone's got their silence so we don't have any interruptions. Here's the format for today's program. First, we will have remarks from Chancellor Julio Frenk. He will then introduce Athletic Director Martin Jarmond, who will do the same. Martin will then introduce new UCLA football head coach Bob Chesney, and then we will hear from Coach Chesney. That'll be followed by photo opportunities. And finally, we will take questions from our media members. Sound good? So with that, please welcome UCLA Chancellor Julio Frenk.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for being here today. This is truly an important and a very exciting day for the entire UCLA family. College athletics have a remarkable power to bring communities together. Athletics showcase excellence and everything that's required to achieve it. Athletics lift up our shared values, such as inclusion, fair play, and teamwork. And athletics are the front porch of the university, one of the most visible symbols of what we stand for. Athletics connect us across generations and geographies, linking students and alumni, friends as well as strangers. They strengthen bonds and help build community. And all of that is certainly true at UCLA. We are home to one of the greatest athletic legacies in college history. And our student athletes have not only won championships, they have represented our institution with integrity, accountability, and character. Today, we launch a bold new era for UCLA football program. To lead us forward, we have made what I believe is a transformational hire who will ensure our program lives up to the storied UCLA athletics legacy. We have found in Coach Bob Chesney exactly the right leader to help bring greatness, pride, and a winning tradition back to UCLA football. Coach Chesney has more than 25 years of coaching experience, including 16 seasons as head coach. He has rebuilt and sustained winning programs. He has won 8 conference championships, and he has built All-American players, including academic All-Americans. His coaching success speaks for itself, but most importantly, Coach Chesney is committed to winning the right way. His philosophy of developing student athletes in all aspects of their lives aligns very closely to our own Bruin values, which are now his. Winning in college football requires a unified approach across all levels of the university. University leadership and athletics are aligned and committed to doing what it takes to build a winning program. And in Coach Chesney, we have a leader who has the vision, the discipline, and the track record of success to take our football program to new heights. I commend our AD, Martin Jarmond, for leading this search process, and I am very thankful to the members of the search committee for identifying such an excellent fit for the Bruins. Coach Chesney, on behalf of all of UCLA, I am pleased to welcome you and your beautiful family to our Bruin family. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our athletic director, Martin Jarmond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chancellor Frenk, and thank you for your support throughout this process. Sustained success for UCLA football requires strong alignment between university leadership, athletic administration, and a football coach. We're fortunate to have a chancellor who embraces the value of athletics and understands the importance of a successful football program to the entire university. Today is an exciting day for UCLA, for our students, alumni, and our fans. It's the first day of a new chapter in the story of UCLA football, with Bob Chesney as our 20th head coach in program history. I would like to extend a warm welcome to his wife, Andrea, his 3 children, Lila, Hudson, Bo, Bob's parents, I'm gonna call you Senior, Bob Senior, we called him Senior last night, and Cece, his mother, and Andrea's dad, Ed, brother Nick, and brother Vince, who couldn't be here today. Thank you so much for joining our UCLA Bruin family. We executed a comprehensive national search for the right leader to build a championship-level program. Our goal was to identify, recruit, and hire a coach who has a vision for UCLA football, competing for championships. Someone who recognizes the privilege of representing the 4 letters and sees opportunity and advantages in everything about this university, from its history and its brand to its location and its strong academic standards. The search committee was laser focused on landing a program builder who will represent UCLA the right way and who will instill a winning expectation, the mentality that every time we play, the expectation is to win. Without a shadow of a doubt, Coach Bob Chesney is that person. From the beginning, the committee was unanimously impressed by his clarity of vision and how he articulated his approach to building a program. Some of the notes that I had: Bob is a special guy. He's a force of nature, and he's the engine behind every program that he has touched. It was immediately evident that he's organized, incredibly detail-oriented, and has a methodical approach to every aspect of running his program. His structure has been honed and crafted over time, with 16 years as a head coach informing every piece of how he runs his program. As we got to know him more over subsequent conversations, what stood out was his deep care for his student athletes and his prioritization of their support and their development as young men. He communicates vision and themes exceptionally well. He can paint a picture, show you what it means, and teach it in a way that sticks. And if you know anything about his program, we heard a lot about competition. You'll hear him probably talk about competition. Competition is everywhere. Everything is competing. He takes real pride in instilling that competitive spirit throughout his team. And he's a grinder. He knows what hard looks like. He's embraced challenges, and I know he will hustle, he will push our administration, I'm ready for it, and he will be creative to win. As you're about to find out, Coach Chesney is engaging. His impulse to build extends beyond his program into the surrounding community, to football alumni, to fans, and supporters. He brings great energy, yet he's humble, and he fits in wherever he is. He embodies our true Bruin values in every sense. His integrity and accountability and service with purpose are on full display right now as he finishes with his JMU team, guiding them to a Sun Belt championship this weekend and into their first ever college football playoff. He's seeing that mission through, and that shows you the kind of person that he is. Before I turn it over to Bob, I want to thank the members of the search committee, some of whom are here today. Casey Wasserman, Bob Myers, who already asked me for a helmet to be here. He asked me for that helmet already. Love you, Bob. Adam Peters, Eric Kendricks, and Aaron Atkins, as well as Dave Roberts, who supported the process purely out of his care for the program and for the time and energy and expertise they all dedicated to this process in the midst of their own busy lives and successful careers. Together, we achieved what we set out to do. I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to thank Tim Skipper for the job he did as our interim head coach this season, as well as the rest of the coaching staff who pulled together under difficult circumstances to lead our student athletes. Coach Skipper stepped up when he was tapped, and I couldn't have asked for a better person in that situation. I'd also like to thank our student athletes, many that are here today, for everything that you have given. We've had many meetings this fall, and I appreciate their resilience and their work ethic that they displayed all year. They fought till the very end, and I know that they are looking forward to the days ahead with Coach Chesney and his staff. And Bruin Nation, let me leave you with this. Bob has a strong conviction that he's going to win wherever he goes. That's just who he is. And we're thrilled that he is going to win with us. Please join me in welcoming the new head coach of UCLA football, Bob Chesney.
Oh, no, that's not good. We'll get that later. Right? That was you that fumbled it, not me. Ball security. So first, I just want to thank everyone involved in this search committee. Obviously, Chancellor Frenk, just phenomenal to get a chance to meet you and understand your vision for the program and for the university, and the idea that it doesn't have to be academics or athletics, but for both to be able to live in harmony, and for both to be able to uplift one another is ultimately the mission that we all need to understand, and one that I'm proud to be part of. Martin, I thought just a phenomenal job in expressing his vision and his beliefs for what this program needs to be, where it maybe has come up a little short in the past and what he was looking for. But alignment was a word that continued to show up over and over and over again. And I think anywhere that you are, any opportunity you have, when you think you can succeed or would like to succeed, it takes three things from the people really above you that you're asking for. And the first one is, do they understand? Do they have any idea what you're actually going through, what the team actually needs, that the things that we need to move forward with quickly? The depth of understanding is important, and Martin certainly does that. The second one is, do you care? There's a lot of times you might say, yeah, I understand that, but that is irrelevant right now. I have 15 other things I got to worry about, and your one thing is not a fire I'm ready to put out right now. So there has to be this understanding, then there has to be this care, and then when you finally understand and care, there has to be this willingness to work together. So those three things became very apparent as I spoke to Martin in this process. He understands what it takes, he cares a lot about it, and he has a willingness to work together, more so than anywhere else I've ever been, and I think that's really important to understand. I want to thank the search committee as well. As you go through, the guys that were on that really are, another thing that stood out to me. Obviously, it all starts with Martin, but as you go into the next group of guys, from Casey over to Bob to Adam, just the energy that they feel for UCLA and the belief that they have in UCLA is what stood out to me. There is zero chance that they're going to allow us to fail. They will do whatever it takes to push this forward and to be supporters of what this program needs, and that is important to me. I don't want to believe more in a place than a place believes in itself. And those are three men that believe in UCLA and the power of UCLA at huge levels. And I think that is important, for us and our support. Going back to, obviously, JMU, where we have a huge task ahead of us right now, and we're still playing in the 12-team playoff, and I could not be more proud to actualize those dreams and take that program to the level, that becomes a reality. Those same exact dreams are dreams that we will have here. And those are things that we know that we can do and that we will have the blueprint for doing. We got to make sure that we get the right people involved to see those dreams all the way through. But I can't thank enough, everyone involved at JMU that allowed me to this opportunity. Most importantly, the players. The players are the ones and the reason why I'm standing here in front of you today. And I couldn't be more proud to be associated with them and excited to, get home and get back to work. There'll be a little juggling that's going to occur here in my life, so the multitasking skills are going to come in handy here really quick. I think the 3-hour time difference helps quite a bit as well, but that will all be part of it. That I'm sure sleep was not an option for the past couple of days, but I'm sure it will really not be an option as we move forward here. But to my family, just can't thank you enough to share your father. That is not easy to do. And I don't know how many in here are, sons of coaches, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. You have to, just really put your needs aside and share your father with, a different side of a family with that team. And I think, I appreciate you all more than you can know. To my father, mother, Ed, thank you so much for being here. Nick, my brother Vince, who couldn't make it. But it takes a village. It really does. And there's not anybody that is going to do this all by themselves. And I think just as much as I'm not just a football coach, I'm also a husband and a father, a son and a friend. I think those are things that I realize for every one of our players here as well. You're not just football players. There's a lot more that comes with it. And although, your talents will be put on display each and every week, understand that as coaches, we will all care about you more than just as football players. I think, for me, as I've gone through some of these experiences before, it always starts with this question is, can they win, right? Can they win at the place that they are currently at? And to me, there is zero doubt in my mind that we can win here at UCLA. I think when you go through and think about the history here, not only on the football field, but in all the other sports, most recently men's water polo, the amount of 125 national championships to be held here, 11 banners hanging, in the pavilion. The things that come with it to me are just, this is the expectation, right? And what we are doing is not the norm at this current state in time. So the expectation and the norm is to win, and that is what we will be able to do here. I believe in the power of UCLA, and I think that's important for everyone in here to understand, right? And I, again, do not want to be the only one believing it, and I know that we have a room full of people that do, and the plan that we'll have in place will allow us to realize that. It will be built on toughness. It will be built on competitiveness. Our players will be asked to compete on a day-to-day basis with constant feedback coming back to them to allow them to succeed or fail. As they succeed, realize that the leading cause of failure is mismanaged success, and the leading cause of success is well-managed failure. But those have to be opportunities that they can compete every single day. That is something that I truly believe in, and the minute we get here and get started, that will be part of exactly what we do. In closing, I just want to thank everybody in here. I want to thank the players for their belief in me, the administration and the search committee for their belief in me, but to our student body, we need you now more than ever. This is not just our team, this is your team. To the administrators, to the professors, right, as classes go on, I will be reaching out to a lot personally to make sure that those relationships are developed. I will be present on campus and make sure I go around personally and do class checks. This is also your team. And then I think for everybody in the LA area, this is a town that we could look at the Lakers, we could look at the Dodgers, we could look at so many other teams that is rich in history of winning. That is what we need to bring back here. And we don't need to be the other school in this town. We need to be the school in this town. And I promise that will happen here in the very, very near future. I appreciate you all for being here. I need you to know how excited and energized I am, and my family is. A lot of business to take care of back in Harrisonburg, Virginia in the coming week, but I cannot wait to get up here and get things rolling here with our Bruin family. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Go Bruins. Okay.
Chancellor Frenk.
Yeah.
Let's go you in the middle, and then Chancellor Martin on opposite.
Let me get my good side.
Always try. Right, and 1, 2, 3. Same thing, 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And you, gentlemen.
go in the back? Okay.
Awesome. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And last one. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do just one.
Okay, great.
Just be careful back here. Do you want that football up there?
No.
Dad, do you want me to grab the
No.
Can I hear it, Coach? Here you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on. Good. You need one more?
That side?
Yes.
Do we need the football up here?
I don't know. It dropped off when you walked off, so you could if you want.
Coach, that Bruin blue looks really good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks to Coach, Martin, and Chancellor for their remarks. We'll now begin taking questions from our media
And we
members.
all knew who the first question is going to go to.
We'll find out in just a second, yes. If you have a question, please raise
Mr.
your
Jim
hand.
Hill.
We'll get a microphone to you. Please state your name and media affiliation before asking your question.
always gets the first
and
question.
please keep your questions to one at a time. And yes, to get us started, we'll begin with someone who needs no introduction, the great Jim Hill from CBS LA.
Wow. Thank you very much. First of all, Coach, congratulations.
Thank you, Jim.
Welcome to Los Angeles and to UCLA. With every head coaching job comes a certain amount of pressure. Do you feel pressure in this job because it's one of the elite jobs in the country? And if so, how do you handle that pressure?
Yeah. So to me, you know, it's funny. I was at a place called Johns Hopkins back in the day, and our head coach would talk about pressure being reserved for soldiers and surgeons, is what he would say. There were life and death situations that those guys were involved in, and we had a lot of guys that were pre-med and a lot of guys that went into the military after that. And I feel that in a similar way. I feel like, to me, if there is pressure, it's a privilege. But ultimately, what do you do about that? And I think walking into any game and understanding that you are prepared is the number one thing you can do. Having no regrets. Right? Having regrets that you did not prepare well, having regrets that maybe you didn't call the right plays at the end of it. You can't have any regrets, but that ultimately comes from the preparation that leads into it. So I feel like every time we walk on that field, and I share this with our players quite a bit, you know, you watch your foot hit that field, you want to know that it's a prepared body, it's a prepared mind, it's a prepared soul, ultimately, and you did everything that you can. And then the pressure doesn't really matter much. You have to go out there and perform. And I think it's important within our program to build these competitions every single day for us to practice situational football at an elite level, to make sure that we're practicing tough with contact and all the things that come with it. That all has to be part of what you're going to do on game day. So everything we do in this program from day one until you're finally lifting up that trophy, which we talked about the other week with our team, is it takes a full year to put a trophy in a trophy case. That is the preparation. And in that preparation, you have to have no regrets because you've done your job. And then ultimately, you know, when you walk on that field, the pressure doesn't mean much at that moment in time and shouldn't feel much because you've prepared the way you should. Thank you. Thank you.
Ben Balch, Los Angeles Times. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
I know you detailed your plan for success with UCLA when you met with the committee. Can you share some of that plan and the details, and what does success look like for you at UCLA?
Yeah, success looks like winning, right? That's what it looks like on a day-to-day basis. Ben, for us, it is what we do in this program. Every single thing we do has winners and losers every single day. There will not be a day that goes by that we just kind of get by. And that's, I think, really important. And that was ultimately the underlying theme in everything we've done up to this point in time. We don't walk on the field on Saturdays not having been there before. In almost every situational aspect you can imagine, pressure on, music playing at practice, right behind the quarterbacks, those are all things that we have to do to prepare ourselves for game day. So what does it look like? That's, to me, a question that needs to be answered a little more when I could dig deeper into this roster, when I realize who's staying and who's going, and how quickly it will take a chance to, how quickly it needs to be built, a different way or rebuilt. That won't be ultimately my decision. That will come from the players that stay or go. But for me, in the past, I can just tell you that at James Madison, we ultimately had a center and a guard and a punter, come back from, the first year I got there. And we had won our first bowl game ever in the history of the school. And then this next year, 60-some players later in the portal. Then this year, 50-some players later in the portal. And here we are as one of those teams in the 12-team playoffs. So what does it look like? That will have to be determined by our team when we get that fully assembled and moving forward next year. But then whatever our expectations are is where we build our standards and then the day-to-day process. But I see zero reason why, we cannot be competing for a championship.
Tracy McDonald, On 3 Network Rivals. Fan engagement, attendance has been a talking point of this program for the last couple of years. What kind of things can fans expect as far as your visibility, the kind of things you're going to do as far as, trying to drive donor engagement, whether it's, long-term donors or the fan that's, just going to go to a handful of games?
Yeah, so I think for me, there has to be a ton of engagement outside of the football building for me. Not only on campus, let's start there with the student body. We ultimately have to, build those relationships, and we talked about that in our team meeting just, a few minutes before we came in here. But ultimately, that's a big piece of what we need to be able to do. These players can't just be football players on campus. They also have to be students and friends to the other, members of the student body, and that will be a big piece of, what we're able to accomplish. Maybe go to other people's games, be involved in other, things that occur on campus so that they can have engagement, get to know other people on campus, not just those in the football building. But then for myself, it's a really important thing that I'm out in the community, right? I think whether it be community service initiatives with our players, maybe going to elementary schools or whatever it might be to get some more engagement from them, but then I personally have to be able to do that as well. And wherever I have to go and speak, whoever I have to go and talk to, we will be a yes program where majority of the time, if someone comes to us and says, can you help us with this? My answer will be yes, and then I'll figure out how to do it and how to manage it after that. But that is ultimately, I think, one of the bigger things that we were able to do at James Madison University. That was a place that was sold out. Every single game was sold out, but they received a lot of support, just didn't give a lot back. And then very quickly, we were involved in that community, which I think continued to lead to those deeper, meaningful relationships. And then, you see the results happening on the field because the community is also behind it. We need to do a better job there, not only with the student body, but with our, local fan base in the whole LA area, and we will do that.
Hi, right here. Dylan Hernandez with the LA Times. Bob Martin, for both of you guys. You guys both referenced kind of the advantages that this place has. That said, the last couple of decades, right, this program, for whatever reasons, haven't really been able to leverage those advantages into kind of sustained success. And as you guys have kind of tried to figure this place out, looking back, why do you think that is, and why is it going to be different this time?
I'll start off with that. I mean, the first thing is you have to look at your advantages and figure out how do you take advantage of those, right? And so when you look at our institution, we're in the #2 media market in the country. We have a rich history and tradition. We're highly academic, 1 or 2 in the country every year for the last 10, 11 years. So you can have a high academic performance here. You're competing now in the Big Ten Conference. And so you start with some of the things that you do have. The weather, I can't believe I didn't remember that one. And so, so then you start talking about, how do we better utilize our alumni network? We have the best alumni network in the country. And that's something that we have started spending more time trying to figure out how do we utilize that. This search was a prime example. Casey Wasserman, Bob Myers, Doc Roberts. You mentioned talking to Doc Roberts on the phone. I mean, these guys, Eric Kendricks, Adam Peters, they all care and want this program to be successful. And we've got a lot of other people that are behind this now. And I think for me, and I can only speak in my time here, what I'm excited and really enthused about is we have alignment in a way that we have not had in the past. We have a great chancellor in Chancellor Frenk that understands the importance of athletics, bringing communities together, engaging alumni, wanting our student athletes to be successful, and understanding the commitment it takes at the university level for a football program to be competitive. We have investment now, and we have leadership and vision. I don't always feel we've had all of those together. I feel strongly we have all of those in place now. We've made a lot of changes. And you got to remember, we're in a heavily evolving college landscape. I mean, things are changing every year, every month. And so everyone's trying to navigate that. Doesn't mean you always get it right, but one thing we do at UCLA, we're bold and we take action, and we're taking action right now. And so that's what I'm excited about.
I think for me, the energy is right ultimately here, and the time and the moment is right. Those are things that I think are pretty important. I think back to my past and places I've been, and you know, there's a place I was that was one of the, I mentioned it earlier, one of the better medical schools in the country. You brought in a freshman to that medical school, and you knew you were going to change his life forever, and you did. They became doctors, and their families that I still continue to be in contact with today, you're extremely proud of. Went to a different place, and it had a location that was very diverse with people coming from, you know, internationally over the summers, and you knew that they would be able to kind of, you know, understand a different worldview and help them grow as people. You know, I think that was one of the things I liked the most about that place. And then you go to a place like Holy Cross, where I ended the mentorship program, the alumni network, their investment in them. Everybody left there with a job when their football playing days were done. It was phenomenal. So those were three of the things that I felt we could present at different places. And then you come here to UCLA, and everything I loved about every place I've ever been is all packaged into one, right? It's all here, and it's all present here. That is very easy, in my mind, to present to the right person, the right player. And it can't just be about the money. It can't just be about one of those things. It has to be them fully understanding all of those things that come with it. And I think, to me, when you're passionate about it as a coach, when your staff's passionate about it, and you know that you're truly changing people's lives, the administration cares about it. The alums are more motivated than ever, right? And their ability to help mentor these guys in different ways, those are the things that I think are different than anywhere else I've ever been. So to me, all of that was spot on, you know, for me. And I think that our ability to bring people here, present that to them, and we will find the right ones. There's no doubt about it. And I think the timing right now is different, where all of that is aligned together for everybody within this organization.
Coach, right here, Benjamin Royer with the Southern California News Group. You know, obviously, first head coaching job on the West Coast.
Yep.
What do you see the challenges of being a coach on the West Coast, and what do you see the steps you have to take to recruit well in a highly competitive Southern California environment?
Yeah, I think now obviously the geographic lines are a little bit skewed at this moment just because of the way recruiting works at this day and age. But ultimately, we have to be the premier program in this state. There's zero doubt about it. I have a much better understanding over the past few months of exactly what it's going to take. I think we got to make sure as we begin our hiring process that we make sure we have people that have deep ties here to the West Coast, that certainly understand the players within this environment, and understand the areas, and understand, you know, the power players within it. Those are all things that are important. And then I need to make sure with the high school coaches and all the other people that are involved in this that we are as accessible and open as humanly possible. So we will have free clinics, we will have open practices, we will do as many things as we can do so that they get a good idea of who we are, as opposed to just sending it someone to UCLA for all the reasons that you would. Now I also know who those players are. I know who those coaches are. I know what that culture feels like. I know what the practice is like. I know how they're going to develop my, you know, player. I know all the things that are going to come with it. Those are the things that, you know, we have to do a good job of opening the doors and building those relationships quickly. I will need people with a great knowledge of that, and then I myself understand I have to adapt, I have to overcome, and I got to continue to make sure that I'm constantly learning as much as humanly possible about it. I have a good grasp on it, but I need to make sure that those connections are meaningful and open, and that I'm always available to the coaches in this area.
Next question right here. Jordan Mendoza with USA Today. Obviously, we've mentioned it's a unique position, you know, coaching one team while trying to start at another place. For Martin, I wanted to ask, why was it important to let him continue finishing the job at JMU and then also for coach at the same time, how do you make sure that you're trying to chase a national championship while also getting off on the right foot at a different place, both at the same time?
Well, for us, it was easy for me. You know, you want to attract someone that's loyal and that's committed and that has a purpose. I mean, that aligns with our True Bruin values. To have someone that will leave in that kind of situation when you're doing something special, when you sat in those young men's homes and said, we're going to compete and win a championship, I didn't feel that was right. I want a guy that will want to stay with his team, and we were going to support that, and I let him know early on in our first conversation, no matter how long this season goes, you're going to coach that team because that's who he is. That's the kind of person he is. So you can figure out all the other stuff. You know, does that make it a little more challenging? Does he have to not sleep a couple nights and do some things? Absolutely. And does it put more on our administration, quite frankly, to have meetings with players, with Erin Atkins? Shout out to Erin. She's our football sport administrator. She's been meeting with student athletes, meeting with coaches, meeting with a lot. Does it put more on us to do? Absolutely. But it's the right thing to do. And it's always time to do the right thing. And so that was an easy conversation we had. That was one conversation we had. And it was a matter of, as the process went on, we felt good about each other, and we were trying to respect his pursuit of a championship and not being a distraction, even though he knew how we felt about him and we knew how he felt about us.
Second part of that question was, how do you plan to do it? Yeah, that's a little more challenging, right? No, I feel very good about it. I think right now in this day and age too, that the idea of, you know, the timing of when the portal opens, you know, but understanding a lot of things will be done long before that portal even opens, you know, is important for us to do, and we will. We have to get that staff in place. I think we have a robust recruiting staff right now, and I think those guys have to continue to work on it, and I have to make sure that I'm available, you know, in the moments when the work is done, you know, over at JMU as we continue to, you know, fight for this national championship. So those are all things that ultimately I have to juggle and I have to balance, but, you know, I'm very confident in my ability to do that.
Dave Woods from Bruin Report Online. Coach, can you share a little bit about your coaching background and who you've kind of learned from and what your mentorship has been in that regard? Because you don't come from necessarily a discernible coaching tree, so kind of interested in that.
Yeah, so I think, you know, just imagine, you know, getting here from a $5,000 job at a Division III, you know, partial military college in Vermont, right? That's how this whole thing ultimately started. And every step of the way, it's just been the ability to continue to learn and grow and share as many moments as I can with people. My ability to travel and find other people and be around them was always something I've done in my past. And then always trying to find a way to really run a program at a level higher than what you currently were at. You know, that was a big piece of it. When I was at the Division III world, you know, we ran it like a Division II program, and I met with all of those Division II programs and tried to figure out things they're doing. When you got to Division II world, it became more like trying to run it like an FCS program. We started to introduce all the sports science and the catapult, all the things that came with that, having, you know, certain recruiters and a slight recruiting department and already building things like that at a level where nobody else was. You know, and then getting to the next level and running it more like an FBS program or an NFL program. And, you know, for me along the way, I was always looking for my own, you know, voice and trying to figure out how to do it my own way. I think that's important. I don't want to be like anybody else. I want to be me. And there was a guy at Johns Hopkins named Jim Margraf that was phenomenal. He really enabled me to understand you could treat people with dignity. You know, you could be very demanding and you don't have to be demeaning. Those were things that I think stood out to me, you know, initially with him. And then fortunate enough when I got to, you know, Holy Cross there, you know, our women's lacrosse coach name was Amanda Belichick. So I had a chance to go over and spend, oh man, so much time with the guys, you know, out at the Patriots, and, you know, spending time with Bill at that point too was really important for me to understand how those programs worked. Growing up, I grew up with a guy by the name of Brett Veach, who's the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs, and he and I have a lot of deep and meaningful conversations. I go out and visit with him as well to just try to figure out, you know, exactly how it works at that level and things that I need to know about and learn about and make sure we're pursuing. So, you know, there's been a bunch. When I was at Assumption College, Brian Kelly actually graduated from there, so I'd go out to Notre Dame at that point in time and spend time learning about the science behind it and just constantly trying to find ways to grow. I don't want to be anybody else, though. I want to be me, right? That's, I think, the most important thing. So as many times as I would go to places and see what they did, I also saw things that just would not work for me. And I had to find the things that were the most true to me ultimately and take a little bit of everybody along the way. And that's ultimately, even from our assistant coaches, I learned quite a bit, right? From our players, I learned quite a bit. It's not just about, the guy at the top that, has all the answers. I'm constantly trying to be a lifelong learner. I'm trying to find better ways to do it. And I know every situation you walk into will not be exactly the same, as the one that you walked into before. So, that's a big part of me being able to listen, adapt, learn, and continue to grow with this team.
You got to start at the beginning. Who was your high school coach? Tell the story.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that guy, yeah. So when I did not mention this up there because I feel like sometimes it's too long of a story, but ultimately my father was my high school football coach. My grandfather was our offensive line coach. My uncle Bill was our receivers coach. Joe Meyer across the street, Moose, was our filmer. The guy a couple doors down was our equipment manager. Their brother-in-law was actually the basketball coach.
That's the foundation.
And athletic director of that school. So every male in my life growing up was part of that football team or that organization. And honestly, I said it to Martin before and other people, I never saw this as like a profession. I saw it as a way of life, if that makes sense. And I think when you work ridiculous hours for, back then, very little pay, not many people would choose to go into this field ultimately, like a farmer or a fisherman or somebody like that just has really hard, tough life. That's what I watched my whole life, growing up, but I just thought that's what we did. I didn't know any different that you could even, call this a profession. And to me, it was our ability to help young men on their journey grow and become who they need to become, and understand that my job is to make sure that, my father's job from 14 to 18 was to help them grow, and go through probably the biggest physical changes of their life. And then my job from 18 to 22 was to help them grow spiritually. And ultimately by that, I mean who they are as people, right? Someday they're going to become someone's employee, then someone's employer, and then they're going to become someone's husband, and the biggest one of them all, someone's father. And by then they better have their stuff together and truly know who they are, right? And that is what I feel like is probably my true north in my coaching journey, is to share this, these moments with them and help them become, whatever it is that they need to and wish to become.
All right, Coach. Hi, welcome to LA. Miriam Swanson with the Southern California News Group. You've won at a lot of places where they weren't winning before, and I wonder if along the lines what your secret was to doing that, and if there's something about UCLA that might present a new challenge.
Yeah. So the first thing is you have to listen. That to me is, I think, probably one of my bigger superpowers, is that I know how to do this, right? And we've done it everywhere we've been. It's not up for debate if we will or we will not here. We will. But how we do it is going to be the bigger piece of it. I know the blueprint. I know the roadmap. I know the way that I wish it to work. But I also know that this recipe needs to be a little bit different. There are certain things that have to stay. That is non-negotiables. The competition, that has to exist within this program. The physical and mental and emotional toughness that has to exist within this program is necessary. The holding each other accountable to the standard on a day-to-day basis, not just us as coaches, but as players, is necessary. Those are some of the main points of it. We get into the offense and the defense and special teams and all of that, but that changes based on personnel that you have as well. But those things got to be at the root of it. And then from there, there's many things that can be done a lot of different ways. And there's no right or wrong. There's just different, as long as you all believe in it. And the alignment that we talked about from administration, to us as a football program has to exist within our own walls as well, from position group to offensive, defense, special teams unit to the overall team. And listening, to me, it gives you the idea of truly understanding what our players value, what our coaches value, and making sure that on those sort of, outside, elements away from the core of who we need to be, there's a lot of negotiables in there that we can work together on. And I think when everybody believes and you use somebody else's idea other than your own, all of a sudden it creates ownership. And then when you create this ownership, you start to create this trust, and then people start to protect it just a little bit differently. And that has been truly, to me, one of the biggest and most important and impactful parts of what I've done. If I come in here and run the exact JMU program, I don't know if it's fully successful, right? I know that there's things and elements about it that we need to run, but at the same point in time, there's a lot of other things that we have to adapt to fit, our new moment in time that we are and who we want to become.
Hi, Coach. Nikki Kay with Spectrum Networks. It's an era where athletes are considering personal branding as much as the ability to win. I spoke to a former player who was really impressed by your ability to lead young men through all the noise. So what is it about the way you coach, your philosophy in building both players and people that makes you successful in such a constantly evolving landscape?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably a word of empathy might be the word, right? I think that when you see things change so drastically, and I think when your players see so much others that they believe other people are getting, and they want to be in that same position, that's, there's some that need to be in that position for family reasons or whatever it might be. But the personal branding, I think that is part of where we're going right now, and I think the fact that you could sell a jersey in the bookstore or at the stadium and a player not see anything back for that. That was wrong, obviously, for all those years. And I think that now those things have been righted a little bit more. There's opportunities for these guys, and I think that is excellent. But the main thing has to remain the main thing, right? And that has to be what we're trying to do as a team on the field. And as much as individualization may occur, and as much as there might be monetary gain for that, that's great for that player, and he's earned it. But at the same point in time, that has to happen in hours outside of, our obligations, and it has to, be supported by our teammates. And that person also has to understand if their name and their picture is going to be out there on a different level, they have a deeper responsibility now to help lead this team. So those are all things that I feel strongly that we need to understand as a group, and we got to continue with. But I welcome all those opportunities for those young men. They've earned it. They deserve it. But let's just make sure we're keeping the main thing, ultimately the main thing.
Hi, Coach. Steve Futterman. Congratulations on the job. You talked about your history with coaching with your father, your whole family.
Yeah.
You talked about demanding but not demeaning,
Correct.
which is very important to you. When did you realize that coaching was in your DNA? When did you think, this is what I want to do? Was it as a young boy? Was it when you got older? And a sidebar question, I've been asked this by a few people. Any relation to Kenny Chesney, the country singer?
Yes, he is my immediate first cousin. He'll be at all the games. So students, get out there. Let's make sure we're all on the same page there. No, so when did I know I wanted to be honestly, I don't know that I ever thought of anything different. I don't know that I ever, I remember my friends that were, again, let's just play this out. It was 2000, and I was making $5,000 a year as a graduate assistant at a private military college in Vermont. And a lot of my friends were making a good amount of money in the commercial real estate field, and they're like, man, you got to come with us. There's a job open. I'd love for you. And I just couldn't do it. I thought, this is not it. This is my calling. This is my purpose. And it wasn't just because of X's and O's and football and winning games. That's not only what it was. It was about helping these young men, find the passion in the sport that I think could do wonders for your life, right? On and off the field. That's the facts. That's why I do this, is that this is the one of the greatest teachers in life skills is this game of football. And it's different than every other sport out there. The physical demand, the different body types from your, offensive tackle to your kicker, to think that they could share this same field together and put on pads is one of the coolest things I think out there. And you're all doing it with your own individual, responsibility to a greater whole. And it's not easy. Other sports, you play 40, 50 games a year. This one, you play 12, guaranteed 12, and that is it. And the amount of work and the effort and the just, sacrifice and the physical nature of it, it's what I've always wanted to do. There's never been a single thing other that I've thought about in my life other than, coaching football.
Jill Painter-Lopez, congratulations again. We've heard from Martin about making it sounds like easy for you to continue to coach JMU in the playoffs. In your words, we've heard about how you're going to manage it, but why was it important to you, and what did it mean to you that this school made it possible for you?
Well, it means everything to me. There's really zero chance I would be anywhere that wouldn't allow you to finish a mission that you started. And to me, that would just break everything in my mind. It would break the trust of those players. It would break our relationship, with them. And you certainly, I would not want, I think it's again empathy. I would not want my head coach, walking out on us in the middle of a mission that we're still committed to and finishing. To be honest, I feel funny being here a little bit, with them watching back at home, but ultimately I'm committed to that mission. And now I have to be duly committed, to the other part of this, responsibility of what it's going to be like when we walk in this door here. So that has to be done right as well. But I don't think it would be an option for me anywhere if someone said, walk away from your team. This is not, you got to be with us immediately. I understand the work will get harder. I understand the hours will get longer, but that was important for me to be able to, do both.
That will conclude today's introductory press conference with Coach Chesney. We're going to excuse Coach at this time.
Thank
We know you have a busy day ahead of you and another game to prepare for. But I think safe to say, outside of Harrisonburg, the biggest collection of JMU fans on December 20th will be right here in Westwood. Let's hear it one more time for your new UCLA football head coach, Bob Chesney.
Thank you.
And thank you again to the staff, the search committee, and the Luskin Center for making today possible. And a special thank you to Coach Chesney and his family for being here. I think safe to say we are thrilled to have you all here in Westwood.
And thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Media members, we will have Bob Myers, one of the members of the search committee, available in the back for further interviews. He'll be followed by student athlete Scott Taylor as well. Start of the season, just 270 days away. Again, thank you all for being here.